Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in, and if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And do me a favor, if you watch this video and you enjoy it, go ahead and consider subscribing. That would mean a lot. We're getting very close to that 10,000 subscriber mark, but today you might be wondering, what's the deal? You've got 6 knives here on the mat. What are we doing? Well, for starters, I have a weird obsession with modifying Spyderco knives, and I don't have the most insane Spyderco collection, okay? Here are 6 of my Spydercos that I've kept around and I've modified, and I know that people have, 100, 200 paramilitary 2s because why not? Whatever brings you joy is good enough, right? Well, for me, instead of buying, 100 different Spydercos, I would rather just have a few and then mod the ever-loving crap out of them with aftermarket parts until they're finally at my preference. One of the most amazing parts of getting a Spyderco is that you can get a pocket clip, scales, you can get hardware, you can get backspacers, lanyards, you can get reblades, you can get a ton of customizations to make it perfect for you. And that's what these 6 knives represent right here. And while they're not many, they are in fact heavily modified. So I'm going to go over each and every one. And of course I will list the mods and what they cost. And then I will link to them down below as best I can. They won't be affiliate links, so clicking on something won't give me a commission, but if you see something that you like, make sure to hit up one of these mod makers. Well, we're going to start with the smallest and also one of the most recent. This is my Spyderco Para 3, and this one has some nice mods on it. For starters, this is the S45 VN blade, and of course, I do have a mirror polish finish on that edge. I did that mirror polish myself. For the scales, now these scales are not showing up the greatest in this light. I'm going to try to angle it so you can catch that, but essentially these are rock scale design scales. These are their hexi scales. They're the milling pattern that replaced their dragon scale milling pattern. And what I had them do, because if you were to go on rockscaledesign.com right now and look up these scales, you could find some hexi scales, but you're not going to find this specific set. That's because I requested specifically to have satin brushed flats with purple milling. And if you reach out to them and you say, hey, I want a custom job that's not available on your website, let them know. They might be able to make that happen. These are titanium scales, and everything from rock scale is made right here in the US. But that's not the only thing. In fact, this is a 100% rock scale build except for the pocket clip. So the hardware is their purple anodized titanium hardware. We've got a purple anodized geared titanium backspacer. That backspacer also has an integral lanyard tube as well. Now, Spyderco loves to peen their lanyard tubes, which makes them kind of a pain to get out. So this is a nice replacement because it makes disassembly that much easier, that much nicer. I really enjoy that. Yeah. So we've got the scales, which cost me about 150 bucks. We've got the hardware, which cost me, I want to say it was another 25 to 30 bucks. The backspacer, which I think cost 40 or maybe 40 or 50 bucks, all titanium, all American made. And then one of my favorite pocket clips of all time, the MXG deep carry clip. This is a short clip, and while it is kind of a duckbill clip, it is titanium. It's got a really good amount of retention, but it slides in and out of the pocket with ease, and it does not affect the ergos whatsoever. I think that it looks good, it performs well, and it creates some really nice ergos. And that's a fantastic way to modify your Spyderco Para 3. Next up, we've got the only non-American made Spyderco on the desk. This is one of my most heavily carried. Can you tell? It's been through some stuff. This is my Spyderco Smock. Now, this one has a mod that you might not be able to see. In fact, I know you can't see it. First of all, these are custom Kevin Smock scales. Kevin Smock is the designer of the Spyderco Smock, and he made these scales specifically. And here's the thing, when Kevin Smock does a set of scales, he does them in limited runs, and then he will probably never come out with that specific style ever again. I mean, he might do the same milling, but he'll do different patterns, or he might do different colors or no colors. He might do a bunch of different things, but these scales actually come with their own certificate of authenticity. That's how limited they are. And it's really cool, you know, because not only are these aftermarket scales, but they're also kind of not, because they're from the person that designed the knife. The Spyderco Smock is made in Taichung, Taiwan, to incredible tolerances, and to date it is the only Spyderco that comes with a button compression. This is a Kevin Smock design, adding this tab to the compression lock to make it a button compression. So all of those Vosteed fans out there, you better recognize the top liner lock was of course inspired by Kevin Smock's work here on the Spyderco Smock. So I've got the Kevin Smock scales, and he tells me that there was only 2 made with this purple ano. I will say the purple ano has not held up as well as I would have hoped over time, but that just comes with the territory of carrying your knife. I also have a purple anodized Lynch Northwest deep carry clip that's also American made, also titanium. And then the final mod on this purple Nurple Smock is going to be one that you can't see. After I did my video on the Spyderco Smock with the custom Smock scales, Kevin Smock actually reached out to me and said, hey, that was really cool. I want to send you a set of my custom bearings. So this actually has a set of custom made bearings from Kevin Smock, and that's great. Like, you see that drop shot action? Yeah, there's nothing arresting that. That's some of the smoothest action that you can get on a Spyderco Smock, period. And you just can't go on Kevin Smock's website and order these bearings. These are typically bearings that he puts in his SK23 custom knife, and it also fits the Spyderco Smock. Now, with that being said, the very, very last modification that I did is I removed the secondary detent, which was not part of his original design that he submitted to Spyderco. It was something that they added in at the Taichung, Taiwan factory to keep this from being classified as a gravity knife. And I know that people out there who are very ill-informed are going to say, well, it's not an out the front, it can't be a gravity knife, blah, blah, blah. I hate to break it to you guys, but being an out the front knife has nothing to do with whether or not law enforcement in your area could classify it as a gravity knife. So to keep it from being just a press button and have it release, Spyderco in Taiwan added a secondary detent. A lot of people remove it. Kevin Smock removed it on his personal Smock, and you know what? So did I. That's just the way that I prefer it. That is my modified purple Nurple Spyderco Smock. Next up, we've got another favorite. In fact, I mean, these are all my favorite, but this is my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and this one has some extensive modifications. Let's go ahead and start talking about the blade. First of all, this is the DLT exclusive Paramilitary 2 in crew wear. So this has DLC coating on the blade, which stands for diamond like carbon. And yes, it is a real diamond like carbon coating. It's got sharp dressed knives, dark matter red fat carbon scales. That is bananas. Look at the quality on those scales. These are smooth. There's absolutely no voids. These are also made in the US. All of the mods that I've done on these, by the way, are all 100% made in the USA. Next, following that up, aside from that, we've got a Rips Garage Tech dark matter red fat carbon backspacer. So I did something risky. I mixed the scales with a backspacer from a different company entirely. When you're talking aftermarket, it's a bit of a risky move, betting on everything fitting together well. So I did the scales, the backspacer, both in dark matter red fat carbon fiber. I have what's called a CME, a compression made easy from OCD for EDC. This is called the Blood Money CME. And if I were to go ahead and shine a light on this and then turn off all the lights, it would actually glow red and green. That's why they call it the Blood Money CME. And that just simply makes it push button operation. It makes it more fidgety, 100%. And that's something that a lot of people will do, is put these CMEs on their compression locks. It's got black titanium hardware from Rock Scale Design. And then of course a MXG deep carry clip. because I love the spoon clip from MXG Deep Carry. It's such a fantastic build, and this is one of my favorite Spyderco paramilitary 2s out there. I call this the Blood Money Paramilitary 2, and it's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely fantastic. And the fact that it came together with parts and pieces from different companies and they're all American made is something that I really think is quite fantastic. Absolutely love this one. The Blood Money PM2. Let me know what you think about this one in the comment section down below. We've got another paramilitary 2 here, but this one is a bit different because it's the Blade Ops exclusive Emerson PM2, and it's got LMAX on the blade steel. This is a rare bird. You don't see a whole lot of these. They did a very limited run. Typically when we see the paramilitary 2s, you know, you just don't see this blade shape all that often. And it's one that a lot of people don't like. A lot of people see that and they're like, is that a bottle opener? Blah, blah, blah. No, this is what's called an Emerson Wave, designed by Ernie Emerson, licensed from him by Spyderco. And when you pull it out of your pocket, it's going to catch on the lip of your pocket and deploy, so that when you pull it out of your pocket, it's already deployed, and it's going to deploy faster than any other knife out there, period. And there's a whole story behind that, but it's fantastic. Something that makes this unique is that this is a saber grind on the Emerson edition instead of a full flat grind, but it's still extremely slicey. That edge is very, very sticky, and it's very stabby. This is the most stabby a paramilitary 2 will ever be. I've carried this a fair amount, so it's not super clean, but you know, it is what it is. The scales are the Critter Rock Scale Design scales. It's got the Rock Scale Design pocket clip. They call that the skinny, I want to say it's the skinny Tonso pocket clip. So purple titanium hardware, these aluminum oxide titanium Critter handle scales. And these are not laser engraved, guys. These are milled handle scales, which is perfect. It's got the purple titanium geared backspacer and lanyard tube combo, and of course that is it. This is not cheap at all, but it functions so very well, and it's a bit of a rare bird, being the Emerson LMAX edition. I don't have a fancy name for this one. It's just cool. Next up is actually the very first Spyderco knife that I ever purchased, and this one is also, you guessed it, heavily modified. This is my S30V DLC Spyderco Manix 2, and check out that mirror polished edge that I put on that blade. I did that myself. This was the first Spyderco that I bought, and when I bought this one, I bought it because it was the best looking Spyderco to me. For some reason, it was the most normal looking at the time. I just hadn't really bought into the Spyderco aesthetic. As it turns out, the more you get, the more you like it. It just ends up being a bit of a trap or a rabbit hole like that. This one I made on for a competition. So this one was a competition between myself, Knife Dope, and Duty's Daggers. And what I did on this was I kept it all American made, because that was kind of part of the challenge. We wanted to keep it all American made, and lo and behold, I think the only one that actually did that. Now, this one is a Metin Boss build, and I went with Metin Boss because, well, Metin Boss has some of the highest quality fit and finish and some of the most impressive looking work that you can get for Spyderco aftermarket parts. So this is called the Blue Alien Topographic color with the frag pattern milling. Again, this is milling, not laser etching. There's a very, very important distinction for that. So these are milled titanium handle scales with this blue and white topographic crazy topo ano, which I think is pretty dang cool. And then we've got the alien topographic titanium 3D milled pocket clip. We've got the titanium T8 rock scale design hardware, and then a lanyard plug, which Metin Boss didn't do a alien ano on that. That's just blue for the lanyard plug with a topo pattern. So it matched. I went with it, and it wasn't cheap on any end. Now, I know a common thing that a lot of people modify on their Manix 2 is going to be the ball cage for the ball bearing lock. Unfortunately, I was unable to find an American-made USA made ball cage, and I wanted to keep these as American made as I possibly could, but I think that it came out looking gorgeous. I absolutely love the aesthetic on here. Again, not cheap at all. You could buy a very, very nicely made production American made knife for the kind of money that I spent on this, but you can't buy this one unless you build it just like I have. I call this one the Alien Boss Manix 2. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. It didn't win, it got second place, but honestly, I thought that it should have won. And then last but not least, this one is really, really fun. I actually found a scale maker called Barclay CNC. And again, guys, this is all American made, and these scales are gorgeous. This is the Spyderco Shaman. It's just a regular S30V Shaman, you know, nothing super special about the blade steel. But I want to talk about why I love this knife so much. I kept the backspacer on here stock, and the reason why I did that is because I thought that it went with the edging on these titanium scales really, really well. But when Spyderco makes a Shaman, whether they do an exclusive for a retailer or they do one of their sprint runs or one of their regular ones, whatever the blade steel is what the backspacer is made out of. So if you get an exclusive in LMAX, the backspacer will be made out of LMAX. If you get the basic one like this one, an S30V, the backspacer will be made out of S30V. And I think that it's cool, and it's rather a waste to replace that with titanium because, well, we just don't see that very often, and it's just kind of a nice little factoid that I really, really appreciate. Now, these are also milled, not laser engraved handle scales, and look at the quality on the edge work here. That is perfectly rounded over. Beautiful, and it makes it silky smooth in the hand. That feels fantastic. Now, the only two things that I did to this knife was I did the scales and I did the pocket clip. That's it. These are the Lines of Hezron faded Barclay CNC skinny Shaman scales, and they're gorgeous. They're some of the most beautiful scales that I've seen to date. And he does a lot of great work over there at Barclay CNC. I absolutely support this guy because his work is phenomenal, and he depends a lot on Instagram, but lately Instagram has been kind of banning knife channels, go figure. So make sure to check out Barclay CNC. Again, all my links are non-affiliate links, but definitely check out his work because, as you can see, this is gorgeous. Look at the fade anno work all the way from blue to that beautiful brass. Oh, it looks amazing. And even if you're not a fan of like the rainbow anno that's happening here that kind of shifts in the light, he does other work that's really good too. The pocket clip is from Rip's Garage Tech. It's a titanium 3D milled pocket clip, and it kind of hides that lanyard hole right there, which honestly, the only thing I don't like about these scales is that he allowed that lanyard hole to be there. Barclay CNC, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, consider making these scales without that lanyard hole. Yeah, it's a shame to tarnish these gorgeous scales with that ugly lanyard hole, which was Spyderco's choice, and I get why it's there. All of their stock pocket clips have that lanyard hole there, but I can tell you that most people these days do not in fact use a lanyard. But that's it, guys. These are my crazy modified Spyderco collection. And it's true, I could have bought and kept stock, you know, 2 or 3 times as many Spydercos for what I've spent on just modifying these 6. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on modifying Spydercos? Do you have any modified Spydercos? If so, how much? What's the most you've ever spent modding a Spyderco? Let me know in the comments section down below, guys. If you watched this far and you enjoyed seeing my crazy Spyderco modded collection, let me know. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to watch some of my regular knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.